So back when I made a video about Dante from Devil May Cry being in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a DLC character, I said if Capcom was going to choose another character, it would most likely be Dante. Then I started to really think about it. I started to really think about this mainly because of this whole recent wave of Resident Evil games being released on the Switch. Now, that's not really a big surprise. That's not a big surprise at all. And because, I mean, any game that can run on the PS3 or early PS4, it makes sense for these earlier, older games to be ported over to the Switch, which is what's happening. A lot of games that have already been on PS4 and PS3 for a long time now are finally reaching the Switch, and I mean, I think it's a good thing because the fact you can play these games portably for the first time, unless you count like owning a laptop, you can, this is the first time that you've really been able to play a game like Resident Evil 4 and a game like Resident Evil Remaster. The original Resident Evil game is now remade and you can play it on the Switch. Before then, it was like this really weird DS version, and I'm thinking it was like original DS, not even 3DS. So this is the first time you can play these games portably, which is really cool and really neat. So does that mean that specifically a character has more of a chance because there's ports of a game on the system? I don't necessarily think so. I don't think it actually matters much at all if a game, like, I don't think the game needs to have representation on a Nintendo platform. And so many people always make this argument. So many people make it. And I'm the only person I know who says it doesn't matter. And I said that before Joker happened, and then Joker happened, and people are like, what? But he's not even on Nintendo. And I'm like, you guys say that every time this happens. This happened with Cloud, this happened with Snake. Really, it didn't happen with Ryu so much, but like, because Ryu had games on Nintendo in the past, but Ryu doesn't have games in the present on Nintendo. Really, it has some spin-off games, but the mainline Street Fighter games like Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, those are mostly on, and they debut on console and then get ported to Nintendo later. But because the franchise has had a long iconic history in gaming, that's all it's really mattered. And because any franchise has had a long historic history in gaming and games, will have most likely at some point been on the NES or the SNES. That's just how it is. Now, when the PS1 took over, that's when a lot of third parties started releasing games on the PS1, and some games were on N64, don't get me wrong, but a lot of games are kind of, Nintendo's time to shine, where they had the most power over everyone else, was back when it was Nintendo versus Sega, and then Sony kind of took that over. So, in my opinion, if a game's been around for a long time, they've probably had games on the Super Nintendo. So where does this leave a game like Resident Evil? Well, the thing about Resident Evil is that the first time I played Resident Evil 2 was on the N64, and apparently that's one of the more superior versions, mainly thanks to the joystick on the N64, allowing you to not play the game with tank controls. It's like the earliest Resident Evil game that didn't have tank controls. And the control scheme they use is where if you hit up on the joystick, you go up. If you hit down on the joystick, you go down. And that's kind of how I thought Resident Evil worked, because I played Resident Evil 2 on the N64 as a kid. And besides that, I only watched my older brother play the first Resident Evil 1 on the PS1. I watched him play it on PS1, and then we both played it on N64 with Resident Evil 2. And then later, I played Resident Evil Remake. Now, when I play Resident Evil Remake, it has the options where if you want to play, where if you hit the joystick up, you go up. If you hit the joystick go down, you go down. Or you could play with tank controls. So basically, the way I've always played classic Resident Evil was that same way that was introduced in Resident Evil 2 on the N64. So when I think of Resident Evil 2, I still think PS1. I still think Resident Evil and all the Resident Evil games are PS1 games. But it doesn't matter because they have had games on Nintendo in the past, and that's pretty much all that matters. It doesn't matter if they're currently on Nintendo. It matters if they're iconic and beloved and stuff like that. So the fun thing is about Resident Evil games is that every game they keep around the same cast of characters. It's mostly the main four characters, which is and all four of these characters have had their own standalone games where they're the sole main character. Don't believe me? Think about this. Resident Evil 1, there was Jill and there was Chris. Resident Evil 2, there was Leon and there was Claire. And Resident Evil 3, you took the reins of Jill. You could only play as Jill, and it took place in Raccoon City, just like Resident Evil 2. And I think it takes place slightly before Resident Evil 2's events, but maybe it could be wrong. Maybe it's just during and just not where Leon and Claire were. It's but it's right there. It's during the Raccoon City outbreak. So you play as Jill in that one, and it's even said like when in Resident Evil 2, you can go to the STARS headquarters in the police station, and there you can see Wesker's desk. There's desks for Chris, and there's desks for Jill. I keep wanting to call him Leon. Leon is from 2. So in Resident Evil 2, which is the one I'm most familiar with, the second one I'm most familiar with, my personal favorite Resident Evil game, and literally saying this is your personal favorite Resident Evil game isn't much of a statement, because this is like everyone's personal favorite game. And I mean, even people who agree it's not the most survival horror game, and it's kind of more actiony, don't even care, because they just say this game started the revolution. This game revolutionized Resident Evil, revolutionized survival horror, revolutionized gaming in general with this over-the-shoulder camera perspective that we started to see way more often. And it all starts with Resident Evil 4, which also features the character Leon. So, because of this, 2 of the most iconic Resident Evil games ever are Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4. Now, Resident Evil 4 stars Leon. There is also Resident Evil Code Veronica, which features Claire from Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 5, which features a new character, Shiva, but the main character is still Chris. Like I said, all 4 of the main characters of the original 4, they all have their own standalone game where they're the main character, and they've all basically the games have really fleshed out these characters, especially Chris, who you could say is the true main character of the game. But I think Resident Evil 4 really took that position away from Chris. And while Marvel vs. Capcom and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom like to feature Chris in these games, to me, it doesn't matter that he's the original one. However, the fun fact, the best part about Resident Evil is that because the games all play very similar, you could put any of the 4 characters in as Echo Fighters. I mean, really, you could make the main character Leon and put Chris in as an Echo Fighter, and it would be completely fine. Now, that could be a lot of Capcom representation. We have Mega Man, Ryu, Ken, and then 2 more Capcom characters thanks to the Echo Fighter idea. Well, I think that if we're going to get any more Echo Fighters, it's going to have to be in this capacity where it's going to be a DLC character that comes with an Echo Fighter that's free, because why the hell not? Now, I don't think that just because what we got with Joker was we got a DLC character with spirits. We got DLC spirits in a way. I don't think that every DLC character is going to come with spirits. They said right off the bat that every DLC character is going to have it's going to be a bundle that comes with a stage, music, and the character. Now, I do think, however, though, that games that will feature spirits will be more likely. So I do think Resident Evil will be the most is a very likely choice, because there's so many spirits they could do, and there's a lot of spirits that aren't just straight up zombies, and because they don't want to put depictions of gore in the game, so it could happen. Now, another thing about Resident Evil characters is that while they do have melee attacks, and they have plenty of melee attacks, especially if you consider games like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, the idea that they would fight mostly with guns is kind of strange, especially for a game like Smash. So I think they might take a cue point from maybe a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, or even the later Marvel vs. Capcom games like 3 and Infinite, that featured zombies that would come on screen. Now, Wesker kind of took the position of a character that had zombies appear on screen, but Jill had that in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where the Tyrant from Resident Evil 1 and other zombies would appear on screen as part of her attacks. Now, that could be kind of strange in a game like Smash, because in Smash, a character doesn't just come from off screen and go all the way on the other side. In Smash, characters mostly would come out of a character. So it might be a little weird to do a character from Resident Evil. The moveset itself could be strange. Now, we're going to go based off Leon, because if Cloud was the character they chose from Final Fantasy VII, it's because most people remember Cloud as the most iconic character from Final Fantasy games as a whole. Now, I'm going to use that same logic here. and say if we're going to pick a main character from any Resident Evil game, it would be Leon, because in my opinion the most iconic one is Resident Evil 4. I think most people have to agree with that. And the second most iconic Resident Evil game would be Resident Evil 2. I mean, think about it. Why do you think they did the remake? I mean, yes, they had a remake of the first game, but look what they did for 2. They gave it the over-the-shoulder camera perspective. This is the dream game that people have been wanting for years, that we never thought we'd actually get, and we finally got it. And it's like, it is a dream game because Resident Evil 2 is so popular and so beloved, and I would say so over the first Resident Evil. So, in my opinion, you look at the two most iconic games, even if Resident Evil 1 was the most iconic game outside of 4, 4 is still the most iconic. So I'd say Leon would be the main character. This would be great because you could easily give him a costume where he has his Resident Evil 4 appearance, and then you could give him a costume where he has his Resident Evil 2 appearance. And either way would be amazing. You could even make his face more of like a new thing. You could make it look more like the original Resident Evil 2 instead of doing something like the remake did. I mean, you could do a lot here. Smash likes to reimagine these characters from their classical versions already. Like, we've had so many modernized versions of Simon and Mega Man, and even Sonic, of course. But what we get with Smash is they always go for the most classic styles and most classic appeals. Sonic being the one exception, except for the difference is that Sonic still plays and moves like an amalgamation of both classic and modern, like all things Sonic. So for Sonic, it was a little bit different, especially because Sonic has so many modern games. But they could have easily given Sonic the Sonic Boom style when Super Smash Bros. 4 Wii U and 4 3DS came out, but they didn't. So what they do here is they kind of like to do their own recreations from the original classic versions of game characters. So what we'll probably get for a character like Leon would be, it'd probably look like he's from Resident Evil 4. That's probably what he would look like the most. And then maybe his Resident Evil 2 version, that one I could see going either way, looking like the remake or 2. But either way, he'll probably look, he's going to have his Resident Evil 2 appearance in some fashion. So it would be really cool to have Leon with alternate costumes, and that would be really dope. And then again, you could easily do an Echo Fighter for him, and it could be any of them. You could do Claire, you could do Jill, you could do Chris. It would make a lot of sense if they did Chris, but I would really love it if they did Claire. That way it's like the two characters in Resident Evil 2, but because Resident Evil 1 has so much popularity, I could see them doing the Echo Fighter for Chris, especially because Chris seems to be pushed as the main character for Resident Evil 5 or whatever. And after Resident Evil 5 came out, it seems like Chris was in every Marvel vs. Capcom game, whereas it'd be 3 and Infinite. He was in the Project Crossstone games. Seems like Capcom really wanted to push Chris. So, I mean, I think Nintendo would probably propose Leon, and then they would say Chris, and then maybe they would come to an agreement on an Echo Fighter situation. So, it would suck if they're both male characters, in my opinion, but at the same time, wouldn't suck that bad, because and the thing is, it'd be like Simon and Richter, where most people just end up picking Richter. Most people don't even play as Simon, which is really funny. People just like play as Richter. And that's the funny thing. Like, I wanted to play as Simon really bad, and then the second they showed Richter was also in the game, I was like, okay, well, I'm playing as Richter now. Like, I like Richter. I like Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night's the Castlevania game I like. So yeah, I'm not gonna be Simon. I'm gonna be Richter. So yeah. So if they did this, they could use, the Echo Fighter idea. While I'm not so 100% positive they'll do Echo Fighters, if they're going to do any more Echo Fighters, it would have to be with DLC characters. And Resident Evil is one of the few fucking examples I can possibly think of where an Echo Fighter could possibly work. When you think of Devil May Cry, you couldn't really do a Nero or Virgil Echo Fighter; it just wouldn't work for Dante. You think of a lot of people wanted an Echo Fighter for Joker, and it's like, now we know who that mystery girl is. We know who that character is. She's another party member for the team, which is super fucking dope. Makes me really excited, but it's hard to be hyped for that game when you know it's coming so much further down the road. But either way, we know that. Sure, we know she's in the game now, but she fights with like a fencing sword. She fights with a sword, She doesn't fight with, or at least it's like a medium sized blade or something. It's like a knight sword or something, but it's not a dagger. It's not a knife. You know, whereas Joker fights with a knife, and I don't even know if they showed her gun yet, but it's very unlikely that she uses a pistol because everyone in Persona 5 uses different weapons. So I think a lot of people who speculated on what this character might be had no idea what they're talking about when it comes to in terms of Persona 5, and that's where I tried to shed some light on people saying, "Hey, it's not going to happen. That's just not how it's going to be. That's just not how it works." So yeah, so will they do an Echo Fighter for anyone? Well, if they're gonna do it for anyone, and even people talk about Scorpion and Sub Zero, well, that'd be really dope because Ryu and Ken are a team in the game. If they do Scorpion, they would need to kind of do Sub Zero with them. That way, it can be Ryu and Ken versus Scorpion Sub Zero, and it's like, but actually, it just wouldn't work. You know, because Sub Zero just would not be able to be a functioning Echo Fighter for Scorpion, especially as Mortal Kombat and Ed Boon keep trying to push this idea that the ninjas aren't just lazy recolors, and which is like, you fool, we all love the idea that the ninjas are just lazy recolors. We love the fact that there's multiple ninja characters in the game. Why do you think people like Dead or Alive? Because there's like 7 ninjas in the game, okay? People want ninjas, and they want colored variations like Power Rangers. Okay, that's what they want. But that's not what we're getting. So if there's going to be any Echo Fighters, Resident Evil might be the right time. Again, even if you look at game like if Master Chief or Banjo got in, no, there's no possible Echo Fighters. If you want any Echo Fighters, it would possibly be the best opportunity here with Resident Evil games. It would be the best opportunity. Now, if you notice, when I talk about characters, I always like to go through the move set first and then go into the costumes and then go into the stage. The thing is about Resident Evil, I think the stage is obvious. It would be like destroyed on fire Raccoon City. If not that, and I mean, I know it's kind of Resident Evil 3 territory, but I mean, if not that, then I would be saying like inside the police station, Resident Evil 2, maybe. If not that, I would say the mansion and from Resident Evil 1. But the only reason why I'm saying not the mansion from Resident Evil 1 is because I'm proposing they put Leon in the game over Chris. But if they do put Chris in the game and make Leon an Echo Fighter, I don't care as long as Leon's in the game. Because it's like with Simon, a lot of Simon's moveset is just taken from Richter anyway. So by putting Richter in as an Echo Fighter, it kind of justifies Simon having so many of Richter's moves. I mean, I'm pretty sure what happened was they were making Simon, and they said, "What moves can we get him?" And they started saying, "Let's just get moves from other Belmonts." To be completely fair, when you look at a character like Ness and Lucas, a lot of the moves Ness and Lucas do aren't even their moves. They're actually doing moves from their other party members in the team. Like Ness doesn't do PK Fire and PK Thunder. That's actually done by Paula, and I think Pooh as well. Lucas doesn't. Lucas is basically just Ness again. But again, his moves, he doesn't really do PK Fire and PK Ice and all that shit. That's all done by the other character, the girl character, that I'm blinking on her name because it's a Japanese name. And when I played Mother 3, I renamed her. So, don't ask me what her name is. I don't even remember what I named her back then. But either way, that's the thing. So they were probably giving Simon just other moves from Belmont's, and they realized that a lot of moves that Richter does would work perfectly, and that's when they're probably thinking, what if we put in 2 Belmont characters instead of just 1, because we're doing Echo Fighters now anyway. And it was a perfect idea. So I would love to see something like that where they say, let's put Chris in, but give him some of Leon's moveset. That way we can justify putting both of them in. I would be totally fine with that. I'd be totally fine with Chris and Leon both being playable characters. And I know some of you guys are saying, yeah, but Chris is a bulky motherfucker and Leon's not a bulky motherfucker. Well, yeah, well, in Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil Code Veronica, Chris wasn't a bulky motherfucker. He was actually rather slimmed down and could easily pass as the same body type. And that's why it's kind of funny that, a lot of people only see Chris as how people, how Capcom wants to portray him now. And they forget that games used to exist for a long time. And that's why it's important that we listen to, older fans and older gamers and people who have been around the franchise for a long time. Because, yeah, guess what? Chris isn't always a big, muscular, bulky motherfucker. Sometimes he's like just the same size as Leon, and that's fine. they kind of redesigned him out in Resident Evil 5, and he's kind of been big. He looks like a gorilla. I mean, he literally does. Whenever I see him, I think about Donkey Kong, and I made that joke literally the first day I started playing Resident Evil 5, and I bought that game the day it came out because I was such a Resident Evil 4 fan. And to me, I'm like, wow, Resident Evil 4 but 2-player sounds perfect. And like I wanted the 2-player mode in Resident Evil 4, and they did it with Resident Evil 5, so it was perfect. So the idea is they made Chris look like a big apish gorilla, and I think they did that just to make him feel differently from Shiva. But really, it's just weird. And also, his moveset is very different from Leon's, where Leon has a lot of high kicks that are really cool in anime, and Chris has a lot of big punches and uppercuts. And that's why Leon kicks guns and shit, and knife fights, and Chris just punches rocks. That's how it works. So, yeah, so for the stage, if they wanted to do the original mansion for original Resident Evil, that would be perfect as a stage, and it could work as long as Chris is the main character and Leon's the echo fighter, instead of being the other way around. But if they're only going to do one Resident Evil character with no echoes, then I'm sorry, Chris, you're out, Leon, you're in. And I would say that the best possible stage would be the burning Raccoon City outside the police station, maybe, or something to show that the city is in total chaos and there's fire everywhere. And you could easily throw in a bunch of love for Resident Evil the same way they put in a bunch of love for Castlevania and a bunch of love for Persona. How much love they showed Persona was very similar to the amount of love when they first showed off the Castlevania stuff. We were like, wow, they really went hard. They really said, we love this fucking franchise. They put in a ton of fucking music. They put in all these references in the stage with monsters appearing from the games. They put in a Dracula battle and all that shit. Now, obviously, they're not going to do a boss battle, but that doesn't matter at this point, right? But they could easily throw in the Tyrant from the first Resident Evil, Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, as well as Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, all appearing in Raccoon City at different moments. Not to mention other zombies and zombie dogs. Not to mention lickers and other iconic enemies from the Resident Evil games. So the possibilities here are pretty much endless. In fact, you could even throw in some of the enemies from Resident Evil 4, since I'm proposing we do stuff from Resident Evil 4. Now, you might have remembered I haven't really mentioned anything from Resident Evil 4. If we're going to pick an iconic location for Resident Evil 4 for the stage to be, I would probably just say the very beginning part where there's the big clock tower you can climb with all the other houses you can fight. You can climb the roofs on. So maybe I would say the rooftops of the village or something, but that would be kind of weird because they'd be floating over nothing. Which means the stage would probably be more like a stage like Onet, because in Onet you die by flying off screen. So this means this stage from Resident Evil will probably not be tournament legal, but that doesn't really matter anymore because there's a Battlefield and Omega version. And I'm not even sure when I think about music for Resident Evil, what music I would really want in the game besides the butt rock song in Resident Evil 2 when you beat the game as both characters. Besides that, I'm trying to think of what songs I really want. But they could easily do some remixes. The remix they did of the song from Persona 5 that's always playing, I think it's called Underneath the Mask. That song in Persona 5, I don't know if I just said Resident Evil 5, I'm sorry. That song in Persona 5 plays constantly when you're in the city area, or when you're basically not in the dungeons, when you're not in the other world. When you're in the real world, it's always playing that song. But they did this really awesome remix because that song's amazing. It's got beautiful singing, beautiful lyrics, and it has this great pacing and this great tone that makes it's like the essence of Persona. If you want to know what that game's about, you can literally just listen to that song and you know everything to expect in Persona 5. It's like a more darker, sadder tale, than your typical JRPG game or something like that. So it was a really, really smart move for them to remix that song the way they did. So when I think about great music from Resident Evil that would never work in a fighting game, I think of the save menu theme, whether it be from Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 2. The save menu themes are always really good. Even the save menu theme for Resident Evil 4 is this really awesome theme, but the thing is, these themes are like very ambient music sounding, very like giving you, they're making you feel a certain emotion that lets you know there's no zombies here, but you're not, you're still not out of the clear just quite yet. And it would be really cool if they could remix these songs, remix these songs. They could also use like certain songs from the newer games, like for Resident Evil 2 Remake, there's a really awesome theme whenever Mr. X is chasing you. It's pretty fucking scary. So they could easily put that theme in the game as well. And it just gets some other really cool themes from Resident Evil games. Like I'm sure Nemesis has a really cool boss theme. I can't remember how it goes right now. But the thing is, like, there's always themes in these games, so you could do a bunch of cool stuff like that. You could, and might not sound the most video gamey, but there's definitely potential here to make some amazing characters. But again, I said this. Normally I talk about the moveset, then the costumes, and the stages. And here, I've mostly talked about Echo Fighter potential, and that's it. I mean, I've talked about some stages, some music. I talked about costumes for sure. I talked about, especially when I was talking about Leon, and Echo Fighters kind of fall into the costume category. Most DLC characters can't ever even have a possible Echo Fighter. So, talking about Echo Fighters kind of falls in there, but thing is, I haven't talked about what the moveset would be like, and that's because, like I said earlier on in the video, it'd be really weird to think of them as using guns. The hardest and biggest struggle for a Resident Evil character, and this is why I said Dante is more likely, is because Dante's moveset makes itself. However, I don't necessarily think that Sakurai wants to include characters that just kind of fit. The thing is, when you look at characters that are in the game, a lot of them have some sort of weird mechanic to them. Joker is a character who just kind of fits and fits perfectly into Smash, but the way Sakurai designed the character is he can't kill anyone unless his persona comes out. If his persona comes out, then everything kills. So he's a very weird character. And that's the thing. I always mention this in my videos. The characters need to have some kind of mechanic that separates them to make them very, very different. Every character so far that's a new character, even in Smash 4, has had this mechanic where they're unique in some way. So what would make a new character unique in this game? The only character that I just said that for that doesn't work for is Isabelle, who's basically treated as a semi-clone to Villager. So I think as far as DLC goes, it's going to be not like that. So what character would work here? What character or what moveset for this character Resident Evil would work? And that's why this becomes a little bit trickier. Like I said, you can't exactly summon zombies on screen like you could in Marvel's Capcom. It's just not the same type of game. It wouldn't work in a game like Smash at all. And if it did work like that, it could possibly be really OP. What happens with Zelda is she can summon an armored soldier that she shoots forward. It doesn't really make sense for a character to be able to shoot another character. Like, for example, it wouldn't make sense if Jill was a playable character and threw out a zombie dog. That doesn't make any sense, because why would a character from Resident Evil have a dog in their pocket? In Resident Evil, there's items in the game. So in Resident Evil 4 and 5, you can collect eggs, and eventually they'll rot. And then you can throw the rotten eggs at zombies, and if it's a rotten egg, it'll kill them instantly. There could be a mechanic where you're throwing eggs, and it could be a white egg, a brown egg, a gold egg, or a rotten egg. And if it's a gold egg, it does more damage. And if it's a rotten egg, it's an instant. It's like throwing, it's like a crazy mechanic or something. That would be kind of crazy and cool. But do eggs really represent Resident Evil that much? I don't know. So it would be cool if they had an egg down B move. But the thing is that it'd be more likely there would be like a mechanic with using herbs to heal yourself, and a character who can heal himself in battle, Oh my god, that would be so OP and broken. So you might as well just not use any food healing item because herbs are far more iconic with Resident Evil than the eggs are. So I'm just gonna have to say no to that. What Resident Evil has going for is there's always a part where you take a rocket launcher and shoot the final boss with a rocket launcher. That's like a running meme in every Resident Evil game. You always shoot something with a fucking rocket launcher, and there's always like mini guns and stuff like that. So I could see there being a rocket launcher move, just like Snake, but you don't want it to be too similar to Snake. I mean, with a Resident Evil character, you could easily make a character who's too similar to Snake. But with Snake, it's all about setting up tactical traps. It's like about laying out traps and bombs, and it ends up actually working. It's sort of similar to the way Snake fights bosses in Metal Gear Solid. So it actually represents the character that the game is actually from in a really cool and smart, clever way. Now, if they can manage to do that with a game like Resident Evil, how would they do that? And the way they would do that would be if you had to like stand still, or you couldn't move while attacking, but it would work a certain way. So maybe your standard B would be gun, just like with Joker, but instead of shooting it stylishly, you would have to like aim perfectly. You would have to like aim the gun. And if you aim it right, you could do more damage depending on how you hit them, and there would be different effects, right? So maybe if you shoot someone in the leg with your pistol, they would actually jump back a few spaces so you could control their movement a bit and keep them pushed away. And the thing is that, well, that only works up close because you're aiming downward, and also it'd be easy to dodge because they would be jumping over it. So it just depends on what you could do. But also that would be good because then you would have the ability to shoot upwards too, which means that'd be good anti-air. You could shoot people out of the sky all with your standard B attack. So then that would also mean that if you're really up close and you aim up in the head, you could get headshots. You could get boom headshots. Now, headshots in Resident Evil games are always important because sometimes you could blow up someone's head in one shot. So basically, this would mean headshots could do way more damage. And that would, but again, you'd have to be kind of up close for it to work. So again, there's something here. This would be a unique mechanic to a Resident Evil character that it would be tough. It would be tough. But it could work and make this character unique and play like no one else. And then it would also represent Resident Evil because Resident Evil, you need to be calm and you need to be controlling. You can't just shoot rapidly. If you do, you'll have no ammo and you'll just die and you won't kill anyone. But depending on if you shoot them in the head or the legs or wherever you're shooting, that actually makes a difference. So I think that this way would work. Forward smash would most likely be some kind of knife attack. Tilt attacks could easily be moves that Leon or Chris uses in Resident Evil 4 or 5. If it was Chris, there would probably be way more punching involved, and if there was Leon, it would be a mixture of punching and kicking. So it makes sense if they took it all from Leon's moveset, more so than Chris's moveset. And then also, there's other weapons they could use for special weapons. As far as the recovery goes, that I'm not sure, because Resident Evil isn't a game where you jump around. It's just not a jumping kind of game. You see, when I was talking about making a moveset for Master Chief, I mentioned he could rocket jump. Now that would be a perfect idea for Master Chief because rocket jumping is a thing that actually exists in different FPS games. Halo's not the first one, but any game with like a arena shooter style to it, which Halo is a team-based arena shooter, usually they have these kind of weird jumping physics and gravity, and rocket jumping is a thing. So a rocket jump for Master Chief could actually be really cool because that move could benefit as a move that shoots downward as well as a good recovery with an area effect move on the ground. So it would be like a double multi-layered attack, that has some depth to it if it was Master Chief's up B. But as far as an up B for a character like Leon or Chris, or even Jill and even Claire, an up B might be pretty tough. And so I actually don't know what I'd give them unless I would give them a straight up flip kick like Leon has in Resident Evil 4. Thing is that, back in the day, it seems like Sakurai loved just making shit up for characters. But the funny thing is, when you look at a character like Piranha Plant, a lot of that's not actually made up. If you watch Relax, he has a Know Your Moves segment on Piranha Plant as a playable character in Smash, and a lot of those moves actually aren't made up. Some of them are taken from Paper Mario, and some of them are taken from just other appearances he's had throughout these different games. But Piranha Plant is actually accurate to how he should be. It just took a shit ton of games to get to where we are now. Sakurai doesn't really like making things up for characters where we are now. He likes to be accurate. He likes to be accurate to specific characters. He likes to make the characters actually have literal animations from their games. He doesn't like to make shit up. So, what upbeat would he give Leon? That's the toughest part. That's the toughest fucking part. And so I think that Nintendo probably proposed Leon or Resident Evil character, and Sakurai might have got to this upbeat predicament and said, what do I do here? What do I do here? And probably couldn't figure anything out. So if Leon's not happening, it's because the upbeat isn't viable. And sadly, the only one I can think of would be if they did an upbeat flip kick move like he has in Resident Evil 4. And the thing is that doesn't sound like a very good recovery. So maybe Leon would just have, he'd be a very bad movement character. Now, I'm not saying a character has to have an amazing recovery to make it in the game. There's plenty of characters who were added in who have bad recoveries. I mean, let's look at Simon. I mean, let's look at Incineroar. I mean, I would even argue Ridley doesn't have the best recovery, but at least he has multiple jumps to make up for it. But I mean, look at Chrom, who's a brand new introduced character who has one of the worst recoveries in the game, because at least Ike can do a forward B move when he's knocked far off the ledge. Chrom can't do that. So Chrom, luckily, that's not too much of his weakness. It really affects a character like Cloud even worse. Look at Cloud's recovery; it's just awful. So I mean, Cloud's got one of the worst recoveries in the entire game. It didn't matter so much because in Smash 4, a lot of characters could easily come back on the stage, and air dodging wasn't nearly as punishing. So it was really hard to edge guard someone because they would just air dodge it. So now you can't edge guard off stage, and now you're in trouble. So the mechanic works completely as intended, because you can still edge guard in the air, you can still air dodge in the air easily, but you can't really air dodge off stage or you're gonna die. So the mechanics works completely as intended. So edge guarding has come back with a force. Now we have it's like lots of characters have bad recoveries, so they could give Leon and Chris horrible recovery. It could easily do it. So we'll have to see. As far as up smash and down smash, those could also be different physical melee hits. But again, because there's weapons in these games, you could use the electric staff. You could use knife hits. There's a lot of stuff you could do here. So while I think that Leon and Chris would have physical attacks as their A attacks, they would have a knife attack in some capacity. Probably won't be a rapid jab because they actually have 3-hit combos themselves already. So not seeing a rapid jab, not seeing knife slashes or A attacks. I think the knife will be a forward smash attack exclusive thing. And so so the egg move would be amazing. I would love that if that was their down B, but the reality is their down B will probably be something weird like it'll probably be a grenade launcher or something weird like that, or their forward B would be machine gun or something weird like that. They'd have to be a total zoning character, because again, that's kind of what you want in Resident Evil. You want spacing away from zombies. So that's and as far as the final smash, well, I think one of the more obvious choices would be summoning the Tyrant or Mr. X or Nemesis or something along those lines. If they didn't want to put that in the stage itself, though, maybe that should just stay in the stage itself. So maybe it'd be a horde of zombies come at you, or maybe it could be something involving a weapon, like maybe like the hand cannon, which just seems to be in every Resident Evil game. There's always like a super powerful magnum in every Resident Evil game. Maybe it could be something else, like a satellite laser beam or something like that. Like there's all sorts of weird weapons in the Resident Evil games already. So maybe we get something like that. Or maybe it would just be Wesker himself drops down, and it's like Chris is fighting with Wesker, or Leon's fighting with Wesker, and Wesker just like fucks you up because you're caught in the middle. That could be really cool too. Or they could do something like how Mega Man does, where all the other Resident Evil characters come on screen, like Claire and Jill also pop up, and you could even throw Shiva in there, and they all just do like an all-out assault. Anything cool like that could happen. It just sticks you in the original Resident Evil mansion, and you have to run away while it's self-destructing. And whoever you're playing as, like if you're playing as Leon or Chris, they'll run out and jump out of the mansion at the last second, and it'll be a giant explosion. So there's lots of possible ideas here for characters, and or for a Final Smash, but that one I don't know if it'd be as cool as iconic as some of the other characters. So you can see that a lot of my ideas are kind of falling apart when you really stretch them out, which is what I said in the Dante video, that it would be complicated and difficult. However, when you really think about Resident Evil 4 debuting on the GameCube, and you really think about all that stuff, I think Leon would actually be a good fit. I think Leon could actually work in Smash, and he totally deserves it. And the thing is that it's not like Capcom can't get any more characters. It's not like they were like, you have Mega Man, you have Street Fighter, and you have Rathalos as a boss, which means you have Monster Hunter content. You have 3 of your franchises in here. You don't get any more. It's like, what? No. Who cares? Like, of course they can get more. If they want some, they can get more. It doesn't matter, dude. It really doesn't matter. So I'm honestly saying it, like, there's a really high chance a character like Leon from Resident Evil 4 has a super high chance, and he's a character who I said should have been in Brawl back when Brawl came out, and that's because Resident Evil 4 was really popular in the GameCube at the time. So, I mean, really, yeah, it could happen, guys. I'm just saying it could really happen. So, I'm not counting him out. Now, what inspired this video is because I was talking about. I made a video that I didn't upload that was about me talking about E3, and the reason why is because I was more so just saying I'm excited that E3 is happening soon, because we're finally going to know who this next character is going to be. No more speculation. We've been speculating this next character for so long, but the funny thing is that we're always going to speculate on the characters until all 5 are out. So far, we know the first one, and that's it. And the first one's out, and he plays great, but we're not going to know anything until they're all out. So we're going to keep making these videos. The only thing is that if the second character they announce is way out of left field and changes everything, or when they're finally added in, they don't come with spirits, or if they announce a character that comes with an Echo Fighter, something like that, those would change how we predict these DLC characters. But until then, they're going to be kind of hard to predict. So I'm kind of still suggesting, I'm still kind of operating off the same logic we had before Joker even really came out. Because I already didn't really count characters who were from franchises that were already in Smash, because they're supposed to be coming with new stages and new songs. So the thing is that, yeah, you don't need, if the game's franchise is already in and you use their stage, then yeah, you don't need you don't need to. It doesn't matter if a character's already in from the same franchise, because the stage could be a different stage that represents that character, right? But the songs is what really stuck out to me. The songs make it to where it's like, no, there's no way they're going to do a character like Bandana Waddle Dee. It's just not going to happen. So to me, the spirits thing and all that stuff, I'm already operating the same way I already operated when I was talking about Joker back in the day. I already assumed that spirits deconfirmed characters, and Joker kind of confirmed that spirits deconfirmed characters because spirits came out alongside him. And yeah, that's kind of the thing. So I'm thinking, I'm still thinking that way. And when E3 rolls around, we're most likely going to see the next character. Will that character come out that day or that character come out that week? That I can't say. But it's very, very likely we're going to see the next character during E3. So, will we get another update similar to the custom stage mechanic? Uh, that's a big from me because it's really hard to say. I think at this point they're just going to focus on getting characters out, and hopefully they'll come out faster now that the custom stage is already in the game and Joker's done. And I'm pretty sure that Brave was already being worked on before Joker and or something else. So and if you guys really want to know what character I think is going to be announced next, I'm not thinking Leon. I think Leon still has a chance. I think Leon could happen, maybe as the fourth or fifth character. But I'm thinking the next two characters are going to be Erdrick and Banjo Kazooie. Now, do I think it'll be Banjo and Kazooie then Erdrick, or do I think Erdrick then Banjo Kazooie? Well, I think whoever Brave is, he's already been worked on, and I think that both Erdrick and Banjo have a high chance. And I want to say here, right now, right here, Sakurai has already said that fan speculation doesn't matter to him. So everyone who's saying Steve, everyone who's saying Doom Guy, yeah, it doesn't matter to him. And not to mention, the characters were already picked before the fans were talking about these characters. And these characters are being talked about never until they are starting to be put into fake leaks. Once they are put into fake leaks and people start saying, oh, it's very possible and they want them. The funny thing is that it's like, I don't think Steve or Doom Guy ever crossed their minds. I think that we're going to be getting something along the lines of Banjo. I think we're getting something along the lines of Master Chief. And we're also probably getting something along the lines of Erdrick from Dragon Quest. So I think that, and it's mainly because Dragon Quest is a super duper mega awesome popular franchise that still gets representation in Japan constantly. People are still talking about it. It's on magazine covers. Square Enix has recently been pushing the hell out of Dragon's Quest. So to me, it's happening. To me, I think Erdrick has an enormously high chance right now. Sadly, I still would prefer other game characters, but a lot of characters I would prefer are from the West, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. And so I don't think Scorpion will really be in the game, especially considering how the fact that Mortal Kombat 11 doesn't even come out in Japan. They just they just couldn't let it come out because the censorship in Japan is so brutal that M-rated games really have to be careful because Japan is censoring violent imagery bad. So it makes me think Scorpion, hey, maybe he has a chance next time, but I don't think he has a chance this time. Not in this current political climate for Japan. I don't think so. Just like how Snake had a chance for Smash Ultimate, but he really had no chance in Smash 4 because Kojima was quitting Konami at the time, and the backroom politics were just so bad that there's just no chance for Snake in Smash 4, but he got his day in Smash Ultimate, and I think that's a thing. I think that characters can, I think characters might not have a chance this time and may have a chance later. But as far as Resident Evil goes, that game came out in Japan despite its M rating, and that is fine, and it's from a Japanese developer, which I think gives it more of a chance for Nintendo to reach out and talk to them, especially when it's Sakurai himself who has to communicate with these people. Now, I don't think there's as much of a region barrier for someone like Masahiro Sakurai, who travels to America all the time, who talks to Americans, does interviews with Americans. I think he's completely fine with going over with a translator and trying to make something happen. But especially with all the Ubisoft stuff in Smash, I don't think the regional thing should be that much of an issue. But I'm just not so sure on certain games and certain things. And I don't think that just because a game is released on the Switch years after it came out on PS3 and PS4, doesn't mean that it guarantees a character in the game. And when I'm talking about any character from Dark Souls or the Souls franchise in general, no. Just because a character is a thing doesn't mean it's gonna be in Smash. So so I'm leaning a lot towards Erdrick right now, and I think that what they should do, because I think Nintendo should know that Westerners aren't going to be happy with Erdrick, and to them it's going to be like throwaway filler DLC, whereas in Japan it's going to be a big deal. And a lot of us in the West are going to have to understand that it's just a big deal in Japan. I think a good way to soften that blow is to give the West something they really want, which would be Banjo and Kazooie or Master Chief, aka whatever Microsoft rep they go with. And I'm still very highly considering Microsoft reps as a very popular choice because let's think about it here. Um, like with all this stuff going on with Microsoft and Nintendo negotiating deals and Cuphead coming to the Switch, it just makes too much sense for them to say, hey, can we also have Banjo in the game? Or they say, hey, can we have the most popular character that you own, like Master Chief, in the game? You know, to me, it seems like they're going to go one way or the other. And yeah, I think Banjo could happen as DLC. So we'll see. But just because Minecraft is on the Switch doesn't mean that Minecraft will be in Smash. Okay, I just want to really stretch that. I want to really hammer that into your guys' heads because again, no one thought Persona 5 and Joker had a chance, and I made a video and I said Joker probably won't be in, even though he's really cool and a lot of fans who are Smash fans also like Persona. And then during that video, it dawned on me that Nintendo and Atlus have an amazing relationship, and Atlus fucking made a game called Tokyo Mirage Sessions. And I know, guys, I talk about this in so many videos, but it's so important to understand that Nintendo and Atlus had a super good, amazing relationship. So it didn't matter that Persona 5 was not on the Switch. It didn't matter that Persona 4 and 3 were PlayStation games exclusively and were never on the fucking Nintendo consoles, you know, besides Persona Q. Okay? It doesn't fucking matter. Okay? And now Persona Rumble is coming to the Switch because that's more of a multi-platform game and less of a game that is based off an engine that was made for PlayStation 3 and 4, making it so, you know, you could easily put these games on the Switch, right? So it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't fucking matter if a game is on the Switch or not. I want to keep saying this. It doesn't fucking matter. Because guess what Nintendo said to Atlus? They said, hey, Atlus, can we have a character from you that's your literal most popular character right now? That would be Joker. Can we have that fucking character from you right now, please? And Atlus said yes. And that's all it mattered. It didn't matter. Nothing else mattered. So what Nintendo might do is they might go to Microsoft and say, hey, Microsoft, can we have like your literal most important character? And they'll say, you mean Master Chief? Yeah, you got it, baby. Like, that could happen. Or they could say, hey, can we have Banjo because he used to be on the N64 and it's kind of like an important part of our era and a lot of people are fans of Banjo because they grew up with him. And Microsoft might say, yeah, you know, so it could happen. It could happen. I'm just saying. In fact, I would love it if they put both Master Chief and Banjo in the game. And I would love it if they did a season 2 where if they only put one of those two in, they put the other one in later. There's apparently a talks that Master Chief Collection might end up on the Switch. If Master Chief Collection is announced for the Switch during E3, then it will literally also be... It'll start with Master Chief being in Smash. Literally, it'll be the same way they announced Isabelle. They'll show Master Chief in Smash. They'll show Halo, then like at the Microsoft press conference, right? And then they'll show Master Chief in Smash, and everyone will just be fucking freaking the fuck out because Microsoft will be showing Super Smash Bros. No one will see the shit coming except for me, and then it'll lead to Master Chief Collection coming to Switch, just like how they did for Animal Crossing after they shut off Isabelle. That's what they'll do if they do that. Okay, but they might not do that. So, because if they showed Master Chief in Smash during Nintendo's thing, it wouldn't have the same effect. They would need to announce Master Chief Collection coming to Switch, and then people would be freaking out, and then they would show Master Chief in Smash right after. If they don't do it that way, then I don't know if Master Chief's coming to Switch. But if they put Master Chief Collection on Switch, then by God, put Master Chief in Smash, like, for fuck's sake. And I know I keep saying that it doesn't matter if a game is on the Switch or not, but the reason why this is different is because Master Chief is a first-party character from a first-party game, and Minecraft is on multiple consoles and platforms. so it doesn't really matter that much because Minecraft Steve is already on the Switch. He's already on other things, and Master Chief has only ever been on Xbox and PC because it's a first-party Microsoft character. Mojang is who made Minecraft, and Microsoft bought Mojang after Minecraft was already popular. Again, I'm just saying this, guys. That when Microsoft bought Mojang, Minecraft was already on the PlayStation, I'm pretty sure, and they just decided to keep it on the PlayStation, and they made a lot of money off that. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that they're going to just, when and Cuphead's on Switch, so to me it already means that we're probably getting a Microsoft character in Smash. But I know I'm kind of tacking this all on this video because I do like to put on extra bits in my videos for people who stick around and want to keep listening. You never have to. But I probably will have to make another video about my E3 prediction involving Microsoft because this is kind of what I'm thinking here. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. I know this video, I just talked about Xbox and E3, and I'm not cutting it out. I'm leaving it in. But this is my video about Leon in Smash. And yeah, man, I'm really excited for E3. I'm seeing this next character. It probably won't be Leon, but Leon has a high chance of being one of the 5 regardless. So even if he's not this one, he might be announced at EVO. He might be announced around Christmas time or the Game Awards or something. So yeah, keep an eye out for Leon. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here and leave it at that. And I'll see you guys on the next one.